just going to talk to you about races. Races, they're happening. And I'm making a bold statement, not because it's bold per se, because, you know, we've worked out what things are likely to be, we think, in summer. And we've also gone on what things were like last year. So last year, we worked through some different events, and we held some events in a socially distanced, secure way. We had 0 COVID cases as a result of those events, kept people safe. But more than that, we did our usual thing. We had fun, we had a great time, we had complimentary Prosecco, check, and fantastic run leaders, and an awful experience of my jokes. But anyway, that's what people say. I think they're great. So there was a lot of discussion in 2019 about how we might create, my team and I, how we might create a race. And I've talked to you, some of you have been around for a while, you'll know the script here, you'll have heard me talk about this in a previous live. But for those of you who haven't, I'm just going to bore you with it now. And we talked about how we might create a race, and there was all this sort of stuff going on. And the landowner access, and there was the local councils, and there was all these other things. And then we looked at the actual prohibitive costs of all of the banners, unbelievably, like the number plates and the sort of mag strips that are in there that record your time, and all of those things ended up being incredibly expensive and actually taking up 6 months of the team's time and getting nowhere. Well, we got somewhere. We realised actually it was really prohibitive for a whole host of reasons. So along came COVID. At least said about that, the better. But with some element of positives for me, I guess. One element of the positive was it got us to explore new places. So we went to the Peak District, we went to the Yorkshire Dales, we had events in both, successful events in both. I've seen more different accommodation options, I think, in 2020 than I must have seen probably in 2019 and 2018 combined. So we are now in an amazing position where we've got different events happening. I'm talking to people now about our trail running holidays. And then one day, click, a thought crossed my mind. I thought, do you know what is it I don't like about races? Well, I don't like, after I've done my warm-up, I don't like having to wait and cooling down because of this massive crowd around me before I start, right? And some people are going to say, well, actually, I don't like the crowd anyway, because that's going to potentially be a risk with COVID right now, isn't it, Jeff? Probably, possibly, yeah. Not so much outdoors. I think it's been fairly proven about that scientifically. But, you know, notwithstanding that, some people will still have that concern. And so, what happens if you took that away? No stress, right? What happens if you were with a group of people who not only knew the route, but were there just to look after you, right? Like a personal shopper, but, you know, in your department store, but a personal support, sort of almost like a run leader. We got them. What happens if you were with a group of people that, instead of thinking, I'm going to be at the back at the end of this damn thing, it's going to take me hours and I'm going to be on my own? What if you were with a group of people running at your pace, because that was their pace too? And we took away this almost stigma. And I see it all the time on my trail running events where people say to me, listen, Jeff, I want to come along, but I'm going to be at the back. And I say, you won't be. You'll never be at the back on an event with me, whether it's a race or otherwise, because one of my run leaders or I will always be at the back. That's categorical. It's not a statement or an analogy. It is a fact. You will never, as a guest, you will never be, or a racer, you will never be at the back of one of my events. Period. Ever. End of story. We always will be. We will, if you want to be at the front though, and you think, well, hang on a minute, I think I'm quite quick. I want to be going for it. I want to explore the terrain on my own. We can do that too. And at the start of my events, I'm digressing again. Apologies. If you know me, you'll know this is a risk of watching one of my live videos. At the start of our events, we sort of thought, well, how do we, we got feedback and we listened to people and we tried to make it better. We always do. And I thought, how do we make it so that someone who is at one speed and someone who is at another speed can do the same event? Because I was absolutely adamant that pace wasn't going to be prohibitive. In other words, if you ran a certain pace, you shouldn't feel as though you couldn't be there with other people, right? So what I decided, what I was able to do was, and in some we had this conversation with the run leaders a few months ago, and I was saying, like, how have we done it? How have we done it? Well, we've got people doing different speeds, like, some are part walking, part running. So that what other people call jeffing. It's not named after me, weirdly. I don't know why. So some people are almost jeffing on our events, right? 16-minute miles or slower, and they've got other people there doing 9, 8 or more, faster than that, minute miles. Like on the intermediate event, we've got people doing 7, 8, 9 minute miles, that sort of period. It doesn't matter what pace you're at, and we don't do loop backs. and everybody feels that they've got time to rest, take loads of photos, and do all those good things because because we are focused on you, the guest. Anyway, sorry about that. I've digressed. I'm just saying this in case there are people watching this video, or people who do watch this video in the future, who think, oh, how can I go on that event? No one is slow in our book, right? It's not even a fast thing or slow thing. It's you're there to run and enjoy yourself. And if you don't have fun on one of my events, I'll be surprised. If anyone's on here who's been on one of my events, please just a couple of quick words in the comments. It'd be really good about how you found it. Not an essay. Just say thumbs up if it was great, or in the comments it'd be super. And just put people at ease, because it's all right me saying it, but sometimes people think, well, you just want us to come. Yeah, I do want you to come, but because it's great. It really is. Anyway, the race. We're back to the race. So what I was saying about small groups, run leaders in each group, people at your pace, no hemmed in lines at the start with stress and getting cool or cold, even worse, losing that sort of oxygen rich blood. We've got all those good things going on. So I thought, yeah, do you know what? We don't need it. We could do it like we do on a trail running event, right? We do the holidays. We've got our route, and we take people on our route. Why can't we do that with a race? And of course we can. So medals are included. Absolutely, you'll get a medal on my races. There are 2 races currently listed, and I've got plans for maybe one more. Autumn time, perhaps. I'm keeping a lid on that yet, because I'm not sure. The route of it is amazing, but we'll come back to that one in a future live. So the races that we're going to be doing are brilliant. These are close to my heart. One of them particularly. The first one is the trail race Snowdonia. We will start in the village of Llanberis. We will nip over to Bethgelert. Now that is a stunning village. We're going to take the trails that a few of you may have been on one of my events through Bethgelert Forest. They're excellent. I mean, I can't run through there without a smile on my face. You come down this track at one point and you are in it's like an alpine village. It just pops out of nowhere. You're on the side of this narrow gauge railway with a beautiful sign and an old station building, and you're just like running through the coniferous trees. I'm thinking, my gosh, where am I? So we go through there. That's beautiful. Into the village. Chance for an ice cream if you're not after a time particularly. And then where do we go from there? That's it. Then we whiz up the side of a lake, gorgeous scenery, and then we take the walking path up Snowdon. Now it's a longer track up Snowdon. It's one of the longer ones, but that also means it's not quite as steep, but it will be challenging, that aspect of it. So it's a trail stroke mountain race, but it's a great introduction to the terrain. So that's that. It's a 1-dayer. And we will make sure that you're trained up for it. And if you want any advice on training, do let me know. The next one, and this is, for me, this was my race that I did for 7 years. I was lucky enough to win it for 7 years on the run, pardon the pun, and it's the Welsh 3000. It's epic, it's fantastic, it's going ahead this July. If you're in it and you haven't got a training plan for me yet, let me know. Anyone who's signed up will have had an email last night for their plans, so I'm doing plans for you if you want them. They're not obligatory. I don't believe in that, but if you want them, they're there on offer. So, Welsh 3000s, 15. There we go. 15 mountains, each over 3,000 foot. Of course, you don't go up and down 3,000 foot each time. Many, in fact, all are connected to 3 main ridges. So you will have mini ascents and 3 major ascents. It's a big day. So we split it over 2. So it's a weekend, accommodations included. It's a fab place. You'll see the best parts of Snowdonia. You'll see amazing views off those mountains. And it's in the time of year where the place is just this beautiful green, phenomenal, glowing, vibrant colour. The mountains can have, well, they do have, and they will have for us, for you if you're doing it, so many different aspects. I've done not only the race days there, but I've trained for 6, 7 to 8 months of every year of those 7 years that I raced it. And it is remarkable. It will take you, it's an ultra, not only in sense of distance, it's an ultra in terms of what it expects from you, but my goodness, you'll find out different parts of your personality. I think you'll see what you're capable of, and before it, if you've got a plan, you'll see what you can achieve, because when you've done it, you will be in no doubt at all what an incredible achievement you've done. Just fab. It is something that I think a lot of people would not consider if they were sane, and And I'll tell you the story to sort of tell you why I said that. When I started walking in the club, I couldn't finish it. Right? There were many years. I had more unsuccessful finishes than I did ever achieve it. It must have taken me almost another 10 years to get to the point where I finally managed to get myself round it walking, and I did it in 15 3/4 hours. And I thought that was it. I didn't, that was enough for me. Now, when I look at it now, I look back on my training, what I realised is the difference was, when I struggled or didn't achieve it, I didn't train. I just kind of I went out, I did a few days on this weekend, I might wait a couple of weeks and I might do another day here on a mountain walk, something like that. But it wasn't consistent, it wasn't thought through, it wasn't with altitude, right? So periodise your distance, periodise your altitude. In other words, what that means is you gradually increase distance run in a plan, usually, and therefore you would do the same with altitude. So all these things are trainable for is, I guess, my ultimate point. And when you look at it from a perspective of why the heck would I do that? I'd have to be crazy. Not at all. You'd have to be crazy if you didn't train, right? For anything. You could go for a 5K if really you hadn't trained for it. That would be an interesting decision to make. But if you train for that 5K, then absolutely you would have no problem with it. And it's the same with this race. It's not the nature of the challenge. It's the nature of the training that precedes it that causes the issue with the challenge, right? So for all the people who have signed up, we'll talk about this in detail in the private group for the Welsh 3000s training that we're setting up. But it's so achievable for anybody. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You need a couple of things, right? For any race, for any goal in running, you need two things utterly guaranteed, right? Beyond the running. You need commitment and determination, right? You need the absolute commitment to follow a plan and to go out and to do it, and then you need the determination to keep going, even sometimes when it might not be in your head you're in the right space. No, I'm still going because I'm blooming committed to the plan, mate. I'm doing it. I'm going out the door. You're talking to yourself most of the time. I know I was. My first January, I went out for my first run training for this race. I was like, oh man. 2 weeks later, I was like, yeah, I've got 2 blooming weeks in. Ultimately, it meant nothing. I couldn't have done the race that day. But after those 2 weeks, I was suddenly, in my mind, I was getting much more solid. So on the day of the race, you look back in time and you see all of that history. It's the same for any race. It doesn't have to be these two that I'm putting on. You've got all that history in your legs and your body, everything. It's remarkable. So, anything's achievable, even the Welsh 3000s. And when you've done it, you will not have had such an experience, honestly. Right, so I hope this has been useful. I'm basically saying I've got 2 races, join me on them. By the way, if you sign up for both, I'll give you a nice hefty discount because I think that's a nice generous thing to do. I hope that's useful. Comment me, message me, pop me an email, jeff@focusedperformance.co.uk if you want to know more. I'm happy to talk to you about it, and I look forward to seeing you there. Cheers everybody, see you soon.